Lucky Podcast, Honora boys. We are in the building, brought to you by Honora Whiskey, HonoraWhiskey.com. It is that premium American whiskey, HonoraWhiskey.com. And if you by chance partake of a good drink, you have to make sure that you do it
responsibly.
Let's get it, Bleav. Lucky Podcast. I am Shaun Davis, SD2 Mics, that dude, the original Lucky Lefty himself, MALIK ZAIRE, brought to you by Honora Whiskey. We are courtesy of Bleav Network, and we are presented by FanDuel. Just one night away from the CFP semifinals, and you have the Ole Miss Rebels, 3.5-point underdogs to the Miami Hurricanes. And then you have on the other side of the bracket, which I think might be a little bit of a better game because they played a heck of a game up in Eugene, Oregon during the regular season. The Indiana Hoosiers against the Oregon Ducks. And Oregon comes into that matchup as a 3.5-point underdog. I don't know the last time you've had, whether you go back to the 14 playoff, where the spread has been the same for both games.
Yeah.
I have to send that to the researcher and get back to you, Left. But that right there is a strange occurrence. And based upon those spreads, Vegas is expecting really good competitive games. Different styles, matchups make fights. And I think we're going to get two pretty good games. I'll predict this, Left. I don't think either game is going to be a blowout.
Really?
No, I just really don't. I don't think either game is going to be a blowout because the two quarterbacks that have given, I'll say the quarterback that gave the Miami defense the most fits is a similar quarterback to Trinidad Chambers. And I think Trinidad is far more talented than Jennings from SMU. Far more talented than Jennings from SMU. So,
wow.
That is what I think he brings to the table. And Keywan Lacey. Being able to run the ball. Keywan Lacey being able to run the ball. And Trinidad Chambers has to make plays. He just has to, bro.
Yep.
He has to. I think they keep it closer than the experts think. I really do. I think Indiana probably has a better chance than anybody to blow a team out.
Right.
Indiana is one of those teams that they get on a roll because they've been so efficient, Left. They've been so good, so efficient. And we've seen Oregon or Dante make that one mistake. Same thing. Dante threw that interception in the fourth quarter. And the next thing you know, Indiana, spreads the game out, spreads the margin out, and they go on to get their victory, up in Eugene. So Dante has to be flawless. He really does. And they have to run the ball. They have to do a better job of running the ball and not put everything on his shoulders. But he's going to it's looking like he's going to have his full repertoire of wide receivers. So that could be a challenge for Indiana. That could be a challenge.
Play calling is going to be huge for Oregon because, like you said, they're not keen on running the football. So their play calling's got to be excellent.
Yeah, and we'll see if that can kind of balance things off or balance things out for them in the matchup. Lucky Podcast. GTB question, if you have it, put it in the chat. If you have a super chat, put it in there. We're definitely going to get to it. We appreciate all of you guys. You continue to support Bleav Network audio edibles each and every day. We drop two episodes today. Great episodes. TikTok, Twitter, X, Instagram at Lucky Lefty Pod. And we appreciate you. All the subscribers, we continue to grow. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up for us. It helps with the views. And then your comments and your questions that you leave, we definitely respond. I spent about 30 minutes this afternoon responding to comments that
Yeah.
people left after the show. So we greatly appreciate you guys, and we continue to grow on the audio side as well. So we thank you for tapping in over there. You can set up for the automatic downloads. Whenever we drop something, you can get it automatically and get that notification on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So I have a question for you, Left.
Yep.
Is there a point where you start to panic concerning the portal?
I mean, not really. I think this is where you lean on development in house, and the recruiting classes you brought in from previous years need to show up. And this is why Marcus Freeman, we were encouraged in the early parts of his tenure because of the recruiting prowess he was able to show early on. Now those guys need to show for him when the transfer portal isn't as lucrative as people would assume it to be. But the transfer portal is still only what, 4 years old? It wasn't long ago where you had to rely on in-house anyway. So I think the trend of the transfer portal in a lot of ways is overblown because it's addressing more of the few than the whole, in my opinion, on how it affects the outcome of a team season. I think the niche teams like your Indianas, your Miamis, the teams that have had success in a short amount of time being a transfer portal quote unquote team. We saw Tennessee, we saw Texas A&M be portal teams, and they fizzle out quick, right? So is it more of a gimmick to it's like an all in, you go all in to win for 1 year, or what does it look like in a 10-year process, which we don't know yet. We don't know what the transfer portal would do to college football yet after 10 years. So right now, I don't think Notre Dame is set up as a model to be dependent on the transfer portal as other programs have become. And I think that's just because teams that don't have strong foundations are just going with what's trendy. These are trendy teams. Indiana can be considered a trendy team. Get your coach after 2 years ago. He's brought a bunch of people in, done a bunch of things, fire sale. Y'all had a bunch of success quick. Do you think Signetti is trying to stay there longer than 5 years? Probably not. Not at the rate he's going here. He messed around, win a championship. Shoot, in the next 2 years, you would expect a lot of teams to be trying to pay him a lot of money. So I do think that these trendy teams, the Georgia Techs that got better through the transfer portal, didn't become necessarily a playoff team, but they became more respectable. Virginia became more respectable due to the transfer portal. So I do think that widespread, we do have a good opportunity to pick and choose because our foundation's right at Notre Dame. So because we're not acing all the guys that are jumping in, there's 4,000 dudes. Notre Dame is probably picking out of 50 to 25. And if 15 of the 25 or 50 go somewhere else, okay, maybe it's not the year. But we've done so much in recruiting classes. The transfer portal can only really help us in spots. It's not helping. It's not a great replacement that's taking place on our team. And if you think about it, I wasn't even surprised that we had these many guys leave. I thought we was overloaded in spots anyway. I mean, look at the safety group. Just imagine if Kenny Urlacher didn't leave. What if Jaden never left? Jaden Mickey never left. What if Tariq Bracy stayed? I mean, it's so many guys in that position that can be great. And I can see why Carson Hobbs, look at his position on the team in a room that's stacked. I don't blame Jadon Blair going to Missouri. That's a pretty good fit. Because if you look at where we're at as a team at the safety position, you just some pieces aren't going to get moved, and you see a guy Joey O'Brien coming in. You're like, what the heck? I know they're going to play him. I just know they're going to play him. Like, yeah, they like me, but how the game is going with NIL, and they're going to like him even more. So that's a good thing. That's not a situation that a Utah's dealing with. It's not a situation a Baylor is dealing with, or a Virginia Tech is dealing with, or a Penn State Cyclones are dealing with. This is the thinning of the crops. You wait, and I want to add though.
Go ahead.
That this is also how the indie stimmies are cooked up. When you have an abundance, just think of Africa. Africa, you can have a rhinoceros burger, a chicken burger, alligator burger, any kind of burger in Africa. You have every resource in abundance in Africa. So when we drop off a gold mine, drop off some crops to another country, it's okay because the abundance is in Africa. And people would think, well, aren't y'all giving away so much, y'all not getting nothing in? It's okay because it's here. That's where it all starts. We can just grow some more. That's why in-house is important for us. You think we could just let a Pat Coogan, an MVP of a bowl game, just frolic along? Just go ahead to our guys down the street and just make them more successful? That only comes when the pot is overflowing. It's just too much going on. So in order for us to be good stewards, this is what the pain process looks like sometimes. Why is a KK leaving? Why is a Jadon leaving? It's the pot is the abundance. We have set these guys up individually for success wherever they go. So it's not us losing. It's just us winning as an extension. Because guess what? When they make the best plays on their team, what do they say? ND Stimmy. It just everything they do just in the hashtag ND Stimmy on it. Pat Coogan's MVP came with an ND Stimmy on the bottom fine print of the trophy. Because that's batteries. That's powered by. So that's why teams can't totally neglect us. Because they're powered by us in many different ways, from administration and athletic directors to your best player on the team to your head coach to your assistant coordinator of the year to whatever you need. It's crazy.
Lucky Lefty Podcast and our boys. MALIK, ZAIRE, SHAUN Davis. Put it in the chat. Is there any point where you might become a little panicked concerning the transfer portal that closes on January the 16th? Many more people are jumping in the portal each and every day. Some people think the B drops, or the B side of the portal, which are people that have really been jumping in the portal over the last 24 to 48 hours, in contrast to those that jumped in immediately, or the news came before the portal even opened that they would be in the portal. I think it's all about fit, right? I think you can really go up and down rosters and you can say that Notre Dame, they had some guys out of the portal, some injured. Jalen Stroman, early returns. Tate Johnson ends up being the starter. Jalen Stroman comes on later in the season, has a couple of big games. The kicking situation, it's been questionable in the portal, right?
Question.
Yeah, but Notre Dame averages, on average, Notre Dame is going to probably be looking for 5 to 8 guys in the portal. every year, 5 to 8. I think last year it was 8. They had some years where it was about 5, 6, but that's about the average range. Do I think they're going to end up with 8 this year? I mean, it's a possibility. It's a possibility we could wake up tomorrow and they have 4 commitments. You never know. Second half of the show, we're going to talk about reading between the lines, right? What is really happening, right? You get Anthony Saka in the portal. You get Preston Zinter in the portal. You get Bodie Cahoon in the portal at the linebacker position. Those announcements either coincide or come after the official announcement was made, but unofficially, the official announcement of the move of Al Washington to the linebacker coach position was made officially today by Notre Dame, and also being the run game coordinator. Unofficially, everybody knew for over a week that this was taking place and that they were going to be looking for a defensive line coach, and eventually that ended up being Charlie Partridge. And I'm going to talk about reading between the lines of how that's going to impact the 2027 class, particularly how it shifts the guys that they want at certain positions. And now, with the departures, will the class of 2027 be a much bigger class than we anticipated? They took a big class in 26. With all of these departures, now that 27 class probably becomes 2 to 3 spots more. I would probably guesstimate right now. 2 to 3 more kids would end up being in that class.
Yeah.
But reading between the lines, what is that saying? What is that saying? We'll get to that in the second half of the show. We talked about Keon Keeley, right? Last night. We talked about missing out on a couple of guys early. I don't know if I'm upset. I don't know if I'm disturbed. I don't know if I feel like, okay, this is the way things go and they're trending and Notre Dame needs to get on board, or Notre Dame needs to continue to stick to his guns. Mm-hmm. It's so much going on with this transfer portal left.
That's right.
It really is. Like you said, you talking about 4,000 young men in the transfer portal, which is absolutely incredible. And
all those guys couldn't be that frustrated with where their place is,
Well, we know there are different reasons for it. Let me get out. We could talk about it. The Damon Williams situation out at Washington left is.
That's my guy. Too. I just texted him today. Said, I support you, man. Get your money, man.
I'm all about getting your money. But when you have something that is signed, bro, according to reports, if the reports are true and he signed a deal with Washington a week before trying to attempt to jump in the portal, that's the type of stuff, bro. Look, the NCAA.
Just wait a minute. Coaches do it all the time. Josh McDaniels signed the deal to the head coach of the.
I'm not okay. Here's the point. This is where that falls on deaf ears with me. Coaches are wrong too. So I don't even want to hear that. Coaches are wrong too. I don't want to hear that. I don't want what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. Either it's going to be good for both or it's bad for both. And I am not in the number to be cool with somebody 1 week saying they're going to stay. Now, if it was just a conversation and him and his agent were still out there having other conversations with other programs, seeing what was out there, fine. This is something we tell high school kids all the time. You don't have to commit, bro. You don't have to commit. You don't have to commit. You didn't have to tell Washington, yeah, I'll sign and then sign it. You could have been upfront honest with Washington and said, look, I want to see what else is out here. I want a chance to actually win a championship or actually get to the playoff. I want a legitimate shot. Be honest. Just flat out be honest and tell them that. Give them an opportunity to say, what do we need to give you to keep you here? Absolutely no problem. There's no one that likes this better than the NCAA, who, when everything happened, threw a tantrum and stepped back and let all the guardrails come off and left this landscape to be run by the players and the agents. And the agents don't really give a darn. The fact that there are 4,000 kids in the portal lets you know the agents don't give a darn about the well-being of these young men. They don't. They're not advising these young men. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, which is get the most money and leverage situations.
Yeah.
A young man can say, man, I really love my visit. I think I want to go here. Hold on. Don't commit yet. I know you want to go there, but let's see if this other school can bring more money. Wait a minute. Did you hear what this young man just said? Did we just have this conversation about Keon Keeley last night, Love?
Yeah, fit over.
About fit?
Yeah.
This young man just went on a visit and just said that's the school for him. And you as an agent are directly going against what he is feeling and what he is saying for financial purposes. What happened to the fit and how the young man feels with the coaching staff in the school? When that takes a back seat to the rat race of the biggest deal, whether it's NIL for high school students or whether it's transport money for transfer portal athletes, that's when you start to say, all right, now it's getting to a point where it's ridiculous.
How is it any different than Marcus Freeman?
You keep saying, what's the difference? I'm telling you, they're both wrong.
No, but that happens. But that happens through the media.
If Marcus Freeman is leveraging Notre Dame, dude, either you want to be at Notre Dame or you don't. It's not a trick. Either you want to coach in the NFL or you don't want to coach in the NFL.
No, I'm saying
everybody knew that Nick Saban, once Nick Saban came back to Alabama, everybody knew that Nick Saban was a college football coach. Did they not know that?
Yeah.
Teams didn't even try him anymore. He made it very clear, I am a college football coach. He went and tried it. He came back. If Marcus Freeman wants to go try it, then go try it. Go. The Bears weren't good enough for you? Fine. We appreciate you because we got the right guy. Thank you.
Yeah,
we appreciate you. We got the right guy. The Giants aren't good enough for you? Fine. You waiting for Andy Reid to leave? Is that what you're waiting for? You waiting for Andy Reid to retire? What is it? Because this is the thing, Left. Fame is fleeting.
Yeah.
He has to win.
Yeah.
He can't underwhelm next year as a coach.
No.
He can't miss the playoffs again for a second consecutive year. He can't do that and think it's going to be the same coming from NFL circles. He can't do that. He has to win.
Yeah, that's why they say strike while the iron's hot.
You have to strike while the iron's hot. He has to win. So look, get your money. Get your money. But do it right. Do it right. That's all I'm saying. Damon Williams, get your money. You should have told Washington. He knew he was a hot commodity. Come on, Left. Come on, Left. He knew big teams.
I think the only thing he should have did was tell the coach. He didn't tell anybody.
Thank you, Left. Thank you. You don't let it come out on social media, bro.
Yeah, I don't mind him flipping even though he signed and all that. It was just you didn't You didn't tell anybody. So either this happened like in the darks of the night and you had to act now and you did the Brian Kelly, how he went from Cincinnati to Notre Dame, or it's just not professionalism. You CEO of a franchise, you just can't jump ship without telling nobody. You know what I mean? Like that's where I was like, I probably wouldn't have did it like that, especially if they're talking what I get the personal reasons like LSU, Lane Kiffin, playoffs potential, Washington's a small market, whatever. So, but that also goes to why this is so crazy as an NIL and in college football that there's not a way to do it or there's not a example of how to do it because every time there's a new story. There's a nuance to the new story. There's not a guideline of how to go about a situation like this. So he's more so the poster child because everybody's kind of watching to see what happens. The only thing that can really happen is Washington suing for the money back, but I don't know how you can tell a person they got to stay there.
That's the trick bag, right? Why do you want someone that's telling you they don't want to be there? Now that's the trick bag that Washington is in, right? I know they feel jilted. Right. They feel like they have legal ramifications to keep him there and legal rights to keep him there, and he's bound by whatever he signed. But the truth of the matter is, what's at the core is that he no longer wants to be part of your pro. How do you sell that to the other players that are looking at this situation that feel like, okay, he doesn't want to be our quarterback anymore? Is he supposed to walk back into that locker room and leave?
I mean, we see that with the Ole Miss, situation. The team didn't like how Lane did it, and they won in spite of. And they feel a way about him being that ghost hand to the success they're having. But Trinidad Chambers, if he could, he'd probably go to LSU next year. So it's just the game we play, I guess. I don't know.
No, actually, if I'm not mistaken, Trinidad committed. He has to become eligible. That's going to be decided in the next month or two whether or not he can get an extra year because of his medical red shirt at his previous spot. But he said he's coming back to Ole Miss if he's granted the extra year. He said that, I want to say, late last week. He already made the commitment. They asked him if he thought about going other places. He said, yeah. That's why Austin Simmons jumped in the portal and ended up committing elsewhere. So, even you talking about Trinidad Chambers, like you said, he's a hot commodity. Everybody, Trinidad Chambers would have been the number one quarterback in the portal if he jumped in. Easily. And if Sorsby got $5 million, Trinidad's probably getting 7.
Yeah.
So
who's paying that?
Well, this is the thing, right? Indiana's pretty much being sponsored their entire portal
by Mark Cuban.
Sponsored by Mark Cuban.
Right?
Yeah, there was another guy, another oil man, billionaire down in Texas Tech. He said, "I got you. Go get whoever you need."
The man say, "I got you." Good grief.
I got you. Go get whoever you need. So it really has become very interesting when, especially for schools like Indiana, who now draw the interest of their wealthy alumni who have probably been kind of not interested in the football program. Now they're drawing back and they're willing to go ahead and invest. Once again, no guardrails. I mean, what is there to say? Like you said it perfectly. There are no rules. Literally, there are no tampering rules in college football like there are in the NFL. Teams are calling in the middle of the season. They're calling agents, talking in the back channels while the season is literally going on. What's the running back for? The running back for Gibbs, Jahmyr Gibbs, openly said Alabama had contacted him like week 4 of the season.
Yeah.
Week 4. That's wild. That's wild. 2 SEC teams took a swing at Jeremiah Love last offseason.
How much were they trying to give him?
I'm not sure about the amount. One of the teams were actually in the college football playoff that made him an offer.
Probably Georgia.
No, it wasn't Georgia.
It probably the team that had TJ Yeldon. That's what I would think of if I was.
Have they lost 5? Man, did we run the 5-loss bet back for Alabama this year?
No.
Are you sure?
I knew specifically they wasn't going to do it last year.
Okay.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, great point, Tom Bleav. Alabama went after Michael Mayer.
And I opened it?
Yeah, they went after Michael Mayer. You're absolutely right. They did. So 18, I believe it's 18 young men that have decided to leave the program. And it begs the question, what is really going on? I know a lot of fans out there are saying, yo, what in the world is going on? We haven't added anyone. We have 18 people that have left the program. What does this mean? Well, let's try to read between the lines, love. Let's try to read between the lines. Interesting that a school that has been known, especially during the Marcus Freeman era, for not losing a lot of young men to the transfer portal. And when you see a lot, well, this is not just Notre Dame. There are a lot of freshmen. There are a lot of freshmen jumping in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Big Ten schools, the SEC schools, it doesn't matter. Freshmen are not waiting. So first of all, I believe there has been a shift in these young men. And this is not, I'm not trying to denigrate them or say anything about them, call them soft. That's up for anybody else to debate or feel. I'm just pointing out what we're seeing across the landscape of college football, where freshmen are taking it upon themselves and their parents and their advisors to say, I know this school usually has their youngsters wait their turn. I don't want to do that. I feel like I'm ready to play now. And the local kid, the Fort Wayne kid, Mylan Granum, right? Marshawn Sells out of Indianapolis. Indiana kids, wide receivers, and Ohio State has had a pipeline getting the best wide receivers out of Indiana for a decade now with Brian Hartline, right? Hartline leaves. That's part of the reason why you're probably seeing a lot of the young wide receivers leave Ohio State, because the wide receiver coach that has developed and put all of these great wide receivers into the NFL is no longer there. I don't think he's going to fare well as a head coach. That's my personal opinion. But that's an entirely different conversation.
At USF, he'll be able to recruit.
Yeah, he'll be able to recruit receivers. But is he a head coach, Left? That's a total... just because you're a great position coach doesn't make you a great head coach. It just doesn't. It's not automatic. We'll see. But the point I'm trying to make is there is a shift and a change because of the marketplace and the understanding of the marketplace, not necessarily by the parents. Because I told you yesterday, there's been a shift with the parents, even in high school recruiting. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. There's been a shift in the mindset that is taken away from programs like in Alabama and in Georgia that were used to stacking talent because young men were coming in knowing they knew, unless they were one of those ones, they knew they had to wait their turn. And kids aren't willing to do that anymore. Is it the money? Maybe. Is it truly now kids don't want to make it to the fourth year? You know how it is with the NBA left? The NBA, remember the shift in the NBA? You wanted to get a 3-4 year veteran out of college if you were an NBA team. Now NBA teams look at young men that stay in college for 3 to 4 years and they say, man, what's wrong with you? Why did you have to stay in college for 3 to 4 years? They want the kid that's one and done. They want the kid that's 17 years old. It's just a strange thing now how things begin to shift as far as they view things. But I believe the shift has not come from the schools necessarily. Well, there has been a shift from schools, right? Because
there's a shift from schools telling people they got to leave. I think that.
Well, I think certain schools have shifted to, I would much rather take the 20-year-old that has been in the weight room for 2 years than to take this 17-year-old that I'm going to have to take time to develop. I'll take this kid that has production in the minimal snaps and trust that if I work with him and give him more snaps, he can give me even more production. So there has been a shift, but I think there's been a greater shift that we're watching, that if we read between the lines, the money thing is one thing, but the unwillingness, like, why are we doing all of this recruiting when you're just going to feel like you can leave after 1 year? Then what is the purpose of recruiting? What's the purpose, Left?
Well, I would say that you're recruiting year to year. You know, obviously, this is how the model of teams have adjusted to. You look at Colorado with Deion. Deion got 70 dudes 1 year. I mean, every year for him has been pretty crazy. So I think that's just the nature of what transfers have been able to do on a pro and con side, is that when I was in school, every year a different team's a new team. This is just on steroids. So the mindset isn't necessarily different. Every year is a new team, but assembling a new team every year, I think is a little different, but it makes it harder because now you have to do everything more to retain, but also plan ahead. So I don't think we necessarily planned ahead by having these guys that left with defined roles, which I think is a nuance in a security situation for guys, is that some of these guys like KK probably was like, well, the receiver room's bland. They're looking for receivers every time I go on Twitter and I'm here. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year. I'm just in purgatory. So it's like, if all the fans is desperate to get random dudes that's not here, and these random dudes is getting more attention than I am in this wasteland of a receiver room right now, I might as well fish the market. At least I get some more money, maybe start somewhere and bounce to another school. So it's a huge thing that why I keep saying identity and having roles and knowing how to build your team is important because we're only facing, in my opinion, the problem of overstacking talent. We just became a really good recruiting show that attracted everybody in the door, but only a few people can get in the theater. You know what I mean? Everybody in here is live, but only a certain amount of seats in the theater. So Marcus Freeman, like, I'll refund you your money. You know what I mean? But who's in the room is in the room right now. So I think when we get to that next level and trusting Mike Marks as a GM with these transfers, I thought we've done a great job so far telling Malachi, hey, this is what we need you to do. This is what you're coming in for. And we made it happen. Now, that's a planned out role. But a guy like KK Smith, there was no planned out role, or Micah Gilbert, no planned out role. And these are guys that are at school. So I think just the advantage of the transfer portal is the urgency of what you're here for. Are you a one and done? You helping us? Or we throwing you back in the pool? Guys that are on the team are like, are we popping in the spring? Are we flashing in the summer? Can I get a couple reps in the season? Do I pop in the season? Oh, we back to purgatory because they recruiting and transfers and guys coming in and you just get washed. So to stay relevant almost, you got to jump in the portal just to stay relevant. You saw the crazy Colorado linebacker ran into Deion on the plane. Said, dude, I'm the truth. Like, whatever, recruit me. That's how crazy it's gotten. And Deion recruited him on the plane, off the face to face. So, yeah, if it's going to work like that, I see why KK's like, well, shoot, I might run into Deion. Hell.
I think Creed Thomas committed to Colorado.
Creed Thomas got in that portal. I mean, but think about his position. He like, man, all this stuff going on, I'm still here and nothing has changed for me. Bunch of guys left, guys going to the league, I'm still 3. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I'm not about to play over Leonard Moore. He got to be here. They like this other guy. Guys coming in. Mike Mickey's, I mean, he looking at me like, shoot, you going to make it. You going to get your opportunity. Right? I mean, but Cree like, shoot, I'm from the West Coast. I know these other teams ain't good.
Yeah.
I know they can't cover nobody. I could probably go over there right now and probably get a little bit of money. So, I don't know. I think it's so attractive to jump in the portal, especially if you getting calls. And you know what I'm saying? It'd be one thing if you flat and you ain't had nothing, you just jumping for joy, you just jumping over the bridge. But then there's guys as Cree might have been getting some calls from Colorado. We don't know. He just acted on it when he saw the depth chart. But how many other depth charts in the country at secondary is looking like Notre Dame's? We can give you a Kennedy Erlacher, give you a Creed Thomas, give you, and not hurt from it. Very few places.
For me, seeing that, I cover the high school side of it and seeing how the agents are definitely impacting the thought process. Forget the money. The agents are impacting the thought process of how these kids talk to the media, who they talk to.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, the landscape has changed. It's changing, right? And I'm telling you, man, we better recognize, like, just don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. We literally just talked about this 2022 class, which was noted Marcus Freeman's first class. how absolutely fantastic they have been. Like out of the 22 kids, we said that 19 of the kids like popped. They were right on 19 of those kids. That's crazy. Let's say they have 26 kids coming in. You have to ask yourself, are they even going to retain 20 of the kids 2 years out? The way things are going in college football. Are they going to retain these kids? It was the norm that kids would just stay. I want that Notre Dame degree. I need that Notre Dame degree. I'm going to stay. And then I'll take my 2 years of eligibility after I get the degree, and I'll go find another place to play and take my swing at the NFL.
Yeah, because with the money going around, the degree seems less of an urgent thing.
So, no, I'll tell you this. The money on the college level is an easier hustle than the money on the NFL level, left. How many kids are going to get to that second NFL contract where they can really make the money? What do you have to go through to get to that second contract, to become a dude on the next level? When people already believe you're a dude on the college level and the high school level, and you can go ahead and finesse 7 to 10 million in 4 years on the college level. Invest that, make it right. It might take you until your second contract before you see 10 million in the NFL, depending on where you get drafted. So I just think it's become a hustle, man. The college football landscape, recruiting, transfer portal is like slowly approaching becoming a racket and a hustle, especially with no guardrails. And it's going to be interesting. I'm telling you, Lev, it's going to be interesting to continue to watch. Once again, schools like Ohio State losing freshman wide receivers. That doesn't happen, bro.
No.
That doesn't happen.
No.
That doesn't happen. And maybe you can attribute it directly to the departure of Brian Hartline. But come on, man. It's still Ohio State. Ryan Day is still the head coach. He's still
I know he called them plays. I know he got the last 2 weeks. They go, oh no.
They're still going to throw the ball. They're still going to get top talented wide receivers out of high school. And they're still probably going to develop those guys. Carnell Tate is going to be a day one pick. Jeremiah Smith is going to be a day one pick. Brandon Ennis is going to end up being a day one pick. Like, so where do you go? Where do you go? You leave Ohio State, you haven't won a championship. Where do you go? Like, I wouldn't be shocked right now if Jeremiah Smith jumped in the portal and said, yo, let me go get this quick $7 million.
Easily.
Before I go to the league. I already know I'm a top 5 pick. Top 5 pick. Let me go to a school that has another chance. Absolutely. Let me get $7 million, another good team. He put out a tweet yesterday, said, I'm not going anywhere. He could definitely command big time money, but he just flat out said, man, I'm not going anywhere.
You almost had to.
We'll see if he keeps his word. But I told this is a young man that did a signing up in the Columbus area. And dude, they had to shut down the road because of the number of people that came to his signing. Like thousands. I guess it's the character of the people, or maybe it's the information. But it just seems to be a lot of money out there left. That's what it seems to be. It's a lot of young people in the portal, but it's a lot of money being thrown around as well. A lot of money being thrown around.
Yeah. How much you think Joey O'Brien got?
I mean, I'm not about to guesstimate, but I mean, it's a pretty good number. I'm sure it's a pretty good number. But see, I'll tell you the one thing. I talked to multiple agents, primarily the ones here in the Chicago area, a few outside. This is honestly, Left. Agents already know Notre Dame is not about to play the bidding war. They already know that. I flat out had multiple agents tell me concerning their guys, Notre Dame just has to come to here. Whatever that number is. If the number is here, Notre Dame just has to come to here.
Just get close.
That's all Notre Dame. They know that. They know that. And they're not disrespected by that. They respect the way Notre Dame handles their business. Because Notre Dame is going to flat out tell you, we're not playing that game. We're going to give you a competitive offer. And that's it. And
that's it.
And agents respect that. Right? Notre Dame is really, if you really think about it, Left, Notre Dame is very similar to the NFL model. Right?
Yeah.
You come in as a rookie, you come in as a freshman, you're not going to make that much money. You're going to make good money, but you're not going to make, but you want to get to that second contract. Now, when you get to that second, Jeremiah Love got paid.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremiah Love got paid.
He probably was at the 4. He's in the 4s.
He got paid. That second deal with Notre Dame was pretty good.
Because it was only leveraged through other school offers.
I don't have a problem with that. That's the system I would much rather appreciate. I will appreciate a ceiling being placed on high school players, what they can get, and forcing them to have to produce to get to that second contract. Because the second contract is like now it's limitless. It's limitless. Whatever you can negotiate, that's what you're worth. I'm all for that. But the problem is, and I've read stories in the last week or so where these alumni that are footing the bill for high school recruiting, man, what do you think about the guy or the gal, the alum at Ohio State that foot the bill for the NIL for Quincy Porter and Miles Grantham at Ohio State? How are they feeling today? How are they feeling? Hey, I spent money to make sure we got you in recruiting. And you left? And you haven't even played. So now, does Ohio State have to not only work to fix that issue with the roster, does Ryan Day now have to encourage the alumni not to bail on investing in the football program?
Yeah, the schools need a.
How many alumni are going to back up and say, no, I'm not doing this? That's an entirely different conversation, which Notre Dame really doesn't have to deal with because they don't play that game.
Right.
Other schools might have significant issues with some of their, wealthy alumni, seeing all these young men pretty much reneging on deals. But in fairness, like you said, Love, there is the flip side to that. There's a flip side, and we'll get to that in a minute. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Shaun Davis, MALIK ZAIRE, the original Lucky Lefty himself. We are brought to you by Anora Whiskey, AnoraWhiskey.com. It's that premium American whiskey, AnoraWhiskey.com. Courtesy of Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel. You go over to FanDuel.com. Tomorrow begins the semifinals of the college football playoff. And amazingly, both games have the same spread. The first matchup, you have the Miami Hurricanes and the Ole Miss Rebs, 3.5 points. The Rebs are the underdogs in that matchup. You go to the next matchup, Indiana, Oregon, rematch from early in the season, fourth quarter game. Dante Moore throws the interception. Indiana ends up pulling away. 3.5 point underdogs are the Oregon Ducks. We'll see who makes it to the final, the national championship. But you can find those spreads, prop bets, and much more over at FanDuel, FanDuel.com. I see a lot of people in the chat making predictions. I've seen Ole Miss and Oregon. I've seen Oregon versus Miami. Look, like I said, I really think it's going to be good games, Left. I really do. I really do. I think both games are going to be second half games that people are going to be intrigued and locked into. And I think that would be the best thing for college football. It really would be. That would absolutely be the best thing for college football. All right, so let's continue to read between the lines, Left. And we left off talking about some of the troubles with the alumni and young men that are freshmen leaving the shift in high school recruiting, even with the parents. Is it the agents? Is it the money? Young men traditionally that are willing to wait at programs like a Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. Now all of a sudden jumping into the portal as true freshmen. What's really going on? I want to get to something here, dude.
Okay.
And I want to speak indirectly because on the flip side, if I am a freshman and I am not out of your class, Left, if you have a 20, let's say you have a 20-man recruiting class, a really good recruiting class, how many young men would you expect to make an impact as true freshmen out of that 20?
Probably 2.
10%. 10%.
Yeah.
Okay, 10% of the class. All right.
Let's acting like what way though? Like
I'm asking. I can work with either number. If you want to think about that again, that's fine. 2. You sticking with 2?
Yep.
Okay. You're sticking with 2.
Yep.
So 2 out of the 20 are making an impact, which means the 18 out of your guys out of your class are going to be developmental. Red shirt. Maybe a few of them play on special teams, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you talk about getting in, I think nowadays
how many
11 or 12 are playing. 11
how
and 12.
How many would play at least more than 4 games to burn the red shirt? That's a better way of asking.
Okay.
That's a better way of asking.
That'll be around 6 or 7 if you have a really good recruiting class.
Okay. So let's say 6 or 7. So you're sitting right at 30%, right? A little bit over 30%. So now, let's say you have 14 young men that are redshirt. You get to the off season, the young men that are redshirting, they came in with a certain value, right? Let's say their value was 100,000 Left. 100,000. Let's say you have a red shirt freshman who got in at the end of a few games, practiced his butt off, went to school, did everything you asked him. You come in off season. Normally you would talk with the coaches, but now because of the landscape, you have to talk to the head coach, and then you have to meet with the general manager. The coach is going to tell you what you need to do in the off season to get better and what they expect from you. You walk into the general manager's office, and the general manager is going to tell you how they value you from a monetary standpoint. Your value coming out of high school because you were one of the best in the nation was $100,000. They had to get $100,000 to get you. I'll say that again. In order to get you, your value was $100,000. You red shirt. You're not getting fat while you're red shirting. You're getting stronger. You're getting faster. You're getting better. But you just didn't play. Why? Because there's a competitive roster. You have a lot of good players in front of you. But somehow, there's a discussion about whether or not your $100,000 value needs to be cut now to $50,000 because you didn't play. You tell me, Left, if that's fair. You tell me if that's fair.
You get cut?
Redshirt freshman, didn't play his freshman year, comes into the office, talks to his position coach, talks to his coach. They tell him everything he needs to do. Strength and conditioning. This is what we want to see from you when you come to the spring. This is what we expect from you. Cool. That's the way it used to be. Right?
Yeah.
All right, coach, I got you. Go home, have a great break, see your family. Man, lock in. We'll see you back here when we start weight training.
Yep.
Now you have that discussion or those discussions. Then you have to go meet with the general manager. And the general manager is telling you, hey, we know we valued you at $100,000 to get you here. But you didn't play. So now maybe your value is $60,000, $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I went to class. I worked out every day. I practiced my butt off. I've gotten better. Why are you cutting my value? How am I less valuable to the program? How? Based upon what? Based upon what? In what class are you going to get higher than what you just said, Left? I think that was a perfect number. A super class would have 6 to 7 guys.
That's a super class.
That's a super class. That's a super class to get 6 to 7 guys. 6 to 7 freshmen being impactful? That's not happening.
Unless your team is terrible.
Absolutely. So you should expect your freshman to be developed. How do you lessen their value when they're literally doing what you would expect them to do when you recruit them?
I think it would be incentive based, though. You know, I don't think you would lose the base of 100,000. I think that's the earned value of being recruited to the school, and there should be a pool of each player is potentialed at 400,000 over 4 years in this tier. Because at the end of the day, like we see in the NBA, your incentives are coming up. You looking for a trade? Oh, well, we're going to start lowering these minutes. We're going to start doing some things where you don't hit those incentives on purpose and lessen the value of a player. So I do think that it's hard in college when you're right. You're paying for potential. Joey O'Brien, for instance, is the potential. Yeah, we think he's really good, but it's still potential. So it's high value coming in. You still look at the roster and be like, yeah, it's great potential, but Tay Johnson's there and Adon Schuler's there and they got some talent is still over there. So for me, especially if you want to retain him, let's say he just plays in minimal roles like KVA did his first year or second year. You want to keep him, though, because you just know, okay, by the time he leaves. Okay, he's gonna step in. So some of it is destined like that, where I don't think it should affect that 100,000 coming in just because. There's nothing you can really do. So it's hard to say. Well, you didn't play when you first came in, but I do think that incentives, though. Hell, Joey, all right, you 100 coming in. We think highly of you. Oh shoot, you outperformed the 100,000 next year. Just like it's not a second contract, but you earn some incentive money.
And let's be honest. If you're going to do that, you have to tell these young men what the things they have to meet to retain that 100,000. I think
Which
that's
is
I think that's
that's why
only
it's
fair.
rolled. That's why it's rolled.
Be upfront with me. This is my value. These are the markers I need to hit to retain this value. That's fair. Let me know that.
Yeah.
Up front. If you get on the field and do this, your value is going to go up this percentage. In order to retain it at where it is, you have to meet these markers in the classroom, in the community. Make it inclusive. But man, I look, and this is like all across the college football landscape, all across the landscape, where young men are being brought in and just being told, like, all right, this is your value right now. And that, I don't know, man. I don't particularly care for it. I know it's a byproduct of everything that's going on, right? So you can't put the horse back in the barn, unfortunately. But I don't like it. I don't like it. And I think it's trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
It's trending in the wrong direction. And I'll say this. Let's read between the lines, ladies and gentlemen. Let's read between the lines. What you are seeing is the demolition of the second tier of college football rosters. You are seeing the elimination of the second tier of college football rosters. What do you mean by that, SD? You remember the guys that hung around for 3 years, you didn't hear much from them, and all of a sudden they popped at Notre Dame?
Yeah.
The Jack Kaisers
Yep.
of the world.
Yep.
The Miles Boykins.
Yeah. Chase Claypool.
Javon McKinley's of the world that you didn't hear anything from for 2.5, 3 years. And then what the Asmar Bilals.
Oh, yeah.
Those types of guys. I don't know if you see those types of guys at Notre Dame anymore. I just don't. The guys that you come to love, the guys that have persevered, the guys that were representative of what Notre Dame football was all about. It was something different. It meant more to stay, to compete, to get that degree. It meant more. Do we see those type of young men and athletes now? When you have true freshmen at the University of Notre Dame leaving?
Yeah, like that linebacker left.
What's causing it? Let's talk about it, Left. Max Bullock leaves. If Max Bullock is still there, is Anthony Saka still in the room? Is Kobe Calhoun still there? Is Preston Zincher still there? Do they leave because their coach left? This is something that I don't know. I just don't know. What used to be the norm has a chance of being far and few between. Those stories that were always part of the Notre Dame fabric. We might be seeing them fade away, Love.
Yeah, I mean, it's no more Rudies. I'll tell you that. Just because of the win now importance in the playoffs and how long the season is and 4,000 transfers and all of that. So I don't see much of it being a storybook telling.
Yeah. But the way the business, ladies and gentlemen, the business of college football has really changed everything. And it's happening right before our very eyes. And it's just a domino effect. It's gotten all the way down to the high school level. And it's infected everything. Absolutely everything. Slowly but surely. And now it's starting to kick back and erode some of the greatest narratives and stories that came out of certain programs. Certain traditions, that certain things you just expected. Even if you didn't win it all, you got joy out of watching young men like the aforementioned that finally made their mark. They finally made their mark. You didn't hear much about them, but they finally made their mark. And I'm sorry, man. That's really what makes college football great, bro. That's what makes it great.
No more Chris Finks.
I forgot about Fink. You know, we'll see what the future holds, Love. We'll see what the future holds. But you pointed out something. I mean, Al Washington becoming the new linebacker coach. Did that make a difference? I'm concerned now with, I had this conversation with B. Trisk earlier today. We were talking about the upcoming junior day. And I was like, yo, I think we know the top defensive line kids that they want. But who's to say Charlie Partridge doesn't come in and say, I don't particularly like this guy. We literally saw Joe Rudolph do that. Literally. Harry Heastand, when he decided to leave, he had 3 or 4 kids that he wanted to recruit on offensive line, and Joe Rudolph came in and was like, nope. And went after 3 other kids. So Braden Parks, who I think they'll continue to go after, kid out of Brother Rice, Carlos May, the Alabama kids who I talked to, who he's probably going to hear from Notre Dame or get a visit from Notre Dame real soon, according to our conversation. Devin Robertson, who's committing at the Navy All-American game this weekend. Is he going to choose Notre Dame out of Mississippi? You still have Sam Lejeune out of Mississippi on the defensive line. Chris Whitehead, does that shift? With Al Washington moving the linebacker, does Notre Dame now fall back in the eyes of certain guys? It's going to be very interesting how all of this plays out, bro. It's going to be very interesting how all of this plays out.
That's right.
But the general manager, I think, is far more prominent during the transfer portal season than they are during the recruiting season, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. When you're recruiting, it's really the coaches and the recruiting staff. And, you'll sit and have a conversation with Mike Martin about your value, but I mean, your value is pretty much locked in.
Yeah, it's locked in. Yeah, you're locked in.
When you start talking about transfer portal, man, so many different other factors come in. And now they're looking for an assistant GM. Bleav, you should have put your name in the hat.
Man, you know how they are over there, man. I would love to, but man.
No, you should have put your name in the hat. But for that, I think the middle tier, as we get ready to close, the middle tier is done. You're going to have starters and the freshmen that can stick. Those long-range stories of kids that pop year 3, year 4, that was the storyline for Alabama, right? Dude, kids would stay there for 2 years, you wouldn't know who they were. All of a sudden, that third year, they would come out of nowhere. First round pick. Round pick. Crazy. That was Will Anderson's story.
That was Turner's story.
That was Turner kind of flashed as a freshman a little bit more than Will Anderson. But Will Anderson was like his third year, all of a sudden he just, man, bam. And he decided to come back for another year. And was great that year.
Yeah. Plenty of names.
I think we had a question from, yes, Jay Melvin. GTB, thank you for the question. Shaun, if Indy picks up Keon Keeley and he really puts it together with his talent, can he be that guy he was projected to be coming out of high school? Hey, you talking about he was a 5-star coming out of high school. He was a 5-star. I want to say top 5 in the nation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just need, if Keon Keeley comes to Notre Dame, I need him to be able to produce at the same level that Josh Burnham did. That's it. That's it. You're getting 2 years out of this kid. His physical upside, just physically, one would say he probably physically has higher upside. Physically. You know, but is he on that track, right? Was he on that track at Alabama of guys that the light goes on that third year? That we saw it the last 4 games of the season. He was making plays. And I love him because I didn't realize, he was dropping in coverage making plays. He made 2 plays dropping in coverage against Oklahoma in that football playoff. I was like, okay. And then he closed on the quarterback a couple of times. So the versatility that he has, I do like that. But before we close, I'll let you get your last thoughts, or let you get the last thought on, like we said, what we've been talking about, like values shifting, changing, that middle tier of college football rosters kind of disappearing. Are you going to have glue guys on the roster anymore?
Yeah.
Are glue guys going to be allowed to take up cap space, or are they just going to be cast out? Because you can give an offer to someone knowing that more than likely they're not going to take the offer. And what you really want is the roster spot.
Right.
The roster spot is more valuable to you.
As long as the incoming recruiting from high school isn't outweighed by the number of incoming transfer portal players, you can keep a team's culture somewhat intact and still have somewhat of a foundation. But if you're transferring more than you're recruiting in the high school, it's just, it's gimmicks. You don't really have a program. The teams can't sustain that. They can win quick and everybody can get paid and they can bounce. But a situation like Al Golden, where you go in there and build a team with the same sort of guys for 3 years, that's why we were able to sustain being a good defense having a Xavier Watson, a Ben Morrison, a Riley Mills, and these guys grow through the 3 years, staying as somewhat of a defense. I mean, it's no surprise that when he left, we remained good because we still had those foundation players. Then you add a Strowman, then you add a Devontae Smith, pieces. Uh, 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 our guy from what was it, Rutgers, Gerard. So being able to do that through having glue guys, by having a coach that's there with a foundation for that time, is how you aren't as upset when you don't get what the top transfer portal guys year to year.
Man, ladies and gentlemen, I can't play it because it has way too many expletives. But there is, if you think you are frustrated, as Notre Dame fans with the portal, I want you to give at official underscore Ken3, at official underscore KENN, the number 3, a follow. He is a lifetime LSU fan, and he has been giving 2 updates daily. And the 5 o'clock update he gave today on his TikTok had me in stitches. I sent it to Left, and Left was like,
Yeah, what you want? We done showed you everything.
I said, we done showed you everything.
Hey, don't take it to the basketball game no more. For what? For what?
The one he did this morning, Ryan Clark actually retweeted it, bro.
Well, yeah.
It was that funny. Ryan Clark retweeted it because it was that funny. At official underscore Ken3. Give that man a follow. He is an absolute fool, bro. He is a fool. 27 kids. Carlos May. I'll give you a few of the kids that I know Notre Dame is going to be checking out and making contact. Quinn Burrell, Santana Harvey. I said Devin Robertson makes his choice at the Navy game this weekend. Braden Parks, of course, Joshua Dobson, Zay Hassan. Definitely be checking in on both. Amari Irvin down at IMG, he is a commit. Carlos May, like I said, Marcus Fakatu, they'll definitely be checking on him. Gavin Williams, just to name a few. I'm sure they're going to try to get that spell during the contact period as well. And Junior Day is coming up, so hopefully we can get a list of kids that will be coming in for the Junior Day coming up. I think that's going to be probably the more than likely the weekend of the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere around there. Look forward to be that weekend. But like I said, we'll keep you posted when we get more information on the Junior Day coming up. And I just realized today, Left, like once the Junior Day hits, they'll literally be like a month and a half out from spring practice.
Wow.
Yeah, spring practice is like middle of March.
Yeah.
So you get to February, that non-contact period starts, and then you really can't talk to them anymore until they come for the spring visits starting in March. And man, the off season goes quick, fans. Before you know it, we'll be into spring workouts, winter workouts, spring workouts. You know, the 26 class will be on campus. The early enrollees, it's a bunch of those guys, and Notre Dame football will be right back at it. And for the first time, we'll go into the offseason knowing who our quarterback is. We have our quarterback.
That's right.
We have our quarterback. There's no question. No question. Didn't have to go to the portal. No competition. We have our guy.
On a good start.
Have our guy. Absolutely. So the offense should be on fire all spring. Fall, they should hit the ground running. And we shouldn't have to worry about the offense starting slow for the third straight season under Marcus Freeman. We shouldn't have to worry about that. Or 3 out of 4 seasons under Marcus Freeman, because I guess they started pretty fast over in Ireland against Navy with Sam Hart. But great show, Left.
Absolutely.
Man, we thank you for everyone joining us tonight. I like this from J40 Water. I have 100% faith in Marcus Freeman and his coaches when it comes to recruiting and the transfer portal. They know what they're doing. We hope that cooler heads do prevail. The cooler heads being Marcus Freeman and his coaching staff, and not particularly the fan base, because the fan base is just waiting. I think it's going, once that first one drops, once that first commitment drops, then I think you're going to see a few more rolling in.
That's right.
That's just what I think. All right. So for Left, SD2 Mics, don't forget TikTok, Twitter, X, Instagram at Lucky Lefty Pod. Courtesy of Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel, FanDuel.com. Go to FanDuel or download the FanDuel app to get your lines, your prop bets, and much more. Whether it's NBA, NFL wild card weekend coming up, or the college football playoff semifinals, where both games are at 3.5-point spreads. You can go to FanDuel, download the FanDuel app, or simply go to FanDuel.com. For Left, SD2 Mics. Until tomorrow, we'll see you. Love on each other, but most of all, make sure you continue to spin it
different.